Hello, and welcome back to our journey through time. This is the fourth episode in our series, 12 Dates That Built Bourbon. Today, once again, we find ourselves looking back. We are tracing the deep roots of America's native spirit. In our first three episodes, we explored the very earliest whispers of distillation. We talked about the colonial era and the forces that pushed whiskey-making west. Now, our story moves into a new chapter, a time of settlement and growth. In this episode, we will focus on the period right after the American Revolution. Our timeline will stretch from the late 1780s into the early 1820s. We will travel to the rugged frontier of what was then Virginia, a land that would soon become Kentucky. Settlers poured over the Appalachian Mountains, seeking a new life. They brought with them their stills, their knowledge, their thirst for independence. They found a land perfectly suited for growing corn, and with that corn, they made whiskey. It was more than just a drink. It was a currency, a medicine, and a comfort in a difficult and often dangerous world. This is where the story of commercial distilling in the West truly begins. Let's begin. We begin our journey in the year 1783. The Treaty of Paris has just been signed, officially ending the American Revolutionary War. Among these early pioneers is a Welsh immigrant named Evan Williams. He settles in the fledgling port town of Louisville, a small cluster of log cabins perched on the banks of the mighty Ohio River. The local farmers were producing a surplus of corn, a crop difficult to transport over long distances in its raw form. So, in 1783, he reportedly established what many historians consider to be Kentucky's first commercial distillery. Inside, a copper pot still would have worked tirelessly, transforming a fermented mash of corn into a potent, unaged spirit. This white dog whiskey was harsh, fiery, but it was a valuable commodity on the frontier. His decision to commercialize the process set a powerful precedent. 5 years after Evan Williams set up his commercial still in Louisville, our story takes us a little further south. Here in 1788, a family named Burks established their own distillery. This date is significant. It highlights the family farm distillery model. Distilling was a natural extension of farming, a way to add value to their crops. The Burks family would later be linked to Maker's Mark and embodied frontier self-sufficiency. They cleared the land, planted their corn, built their homes, and built their distillery with their own hands. Their operation was small, serving their own needs first, then selling or bartering surplus with neighbors. Our next date, 1789, brings us to one of the most famous and most debated stories in all of bourbon history. This is the year that Reverend Elijah Craig is said to have first aged his whiskey in charred oak barrels. According to the legend, he discovered the whiskey had taken on a reddish color and a mellow, sweet flavor. This tale is a powerful one, and it has been repeated for generations, cementing Elijah Craig's status as the father of bourbon. However, modern historians have cast considerable doubt on this specific claim. There is no first-hand account from 1789 that documents this supposed discovery. Coopers had long used fire to bend staves and to purify the inside of barrels. It is more likely that the evolution of aging whiskey in charred oak was a gradual process, as they shipped their products downriver to markets like New Orleans. So, while the story of Elijah Craig's accidental discovery in 1789 is almost certainly a myth, the date itself remains important. It marks a point in time when distillers were actively experimenting and refining their craft. On June 1, 1792, a momentous event occurred. Kentucky officially separated from Virginia and was admitted to the Union as the 15th state. The new state of Kentucky was, from its very inception, built on an economy of corn. By converting corn into whiskey, farmers transformed a low-value, high-volume crop into a high-value, low-volume product that was easy to transport and in high demand. Whiskey became the engine of the new state's economy. It functioned as a form of currency, used to pay debts, buy land, and barter for goods and services. The rhythms of planting, harvesting, mashing, fermenting, and distilling dictated the rhythm of the year for thousands of Kentuckians. Our final date in this act takes us to the year 1794, the Whiskey Rebellion. In 1791, the federal government, led by Treasury Secretary Alexander Hamilton, had imposed an excise tax on distilled spirits. This whiskey tax was deeply unpopular. By 1794, the situation had escalated into a full-blown armed insurrection. Faced with the prospect of paying the tax or facing federal authority, many of these distillers made a life-altering decision. They packed up their stills, and they moved west. Their destination of choice was often the new state of Kentucky. This migration represented a massive brain drain from Pennsylvania and a huge brain gain for Kentucky's nascent distilling industry. This event effectively cemented Kentucky's position as the new center of American whiskey production, concentrating the talent and ambition of the nation's best distillers into one fertile, promising land. Thank you for joining us. If you liked this episode, please like, comment, and subscribe,